This is Opes and Dreams, a podcast with two alcohol-free besties that share stories and experiences on navigating the Wisconsin and Midwestern culture of drinking and how they manage to have more fun than ever without it. Hosted by Carrin Wall and Kylei Parsons. Hello, everybody. Welcome. We are here in season 2 on episode 6. It is Kylei and Carrin coming back at you with Opes and Dreams. We are so happy to have you here. How are you today?
I'm good.
Yeah?
I'm good. I'm really excited to share with all y'all that I officially enrolled in my program yesterday.
That's so
I am on the path. I have a new title though to share because it was something different and now it's something different. So the new title, we got to roll with the punches in life. I learned a lot from this experience of getting prepared for this. And what I learned the most is not to have my heart set on any set outcome and to just be able to like roll with what comes at me. So
Sure.
My new title will officially be a transformational and alcohol-free coach. The life coach is dropped.
Because there's quite a transformation that happens when you quit drinking alcohol, isn't there?
Yeah, that is more in alignment with what I'm doing. So,
Nice.
and I saved a bunch of money on car insurance. So
by switching to alcohol-free Geico.
Yeah. So it just had to be done. It was just the way that it needed to be done. And
Yeah.
I'm grateful and I don't have to spend grands of money over to Australia.
Grands!
As if I had that.
Carrin's bank account thought she was trying to buy a kangaroo. So.
Yeah. So that's where we're at with that. How about you?
I'm good. I'm bitchy this week. I'll be super honest. I'm not great. I've been having like rage waves and life back and forths a lot. It's been kind of a shit show of a week for me mentally and physically. But I'm here and I'm doing great otherwise.
Yeah, can I take my answer back? Because I'm kind of having a shit week too. We can't both be glitching. We've talked about this before, but
it doesn't work when we're both glitching.
It doesn't work.
I mean, I can rally. I can
and will not.
I'm just having
like family shit.
Yeah.
Just over them. All of them in every way. So, that's just what it is.
That's too bad.
It's just a lot of, and I think looping this back into being alcohol free.
Mm-hmm.
I went through this big transformation, right, in my life, and they will always and forever see me as who I used to be and refuse to see me as who I am now.
That sucks.
And they refuse to get to know the new me. So any kind of conflict that comes up, they come at it dealing with the old me and not being willing to work with who I am now. And that is really frustrating. And honestly, a couple members of my family, and I don't even care if they hear this, are pretty tone deaf.
Sure.
And unsupportive of me in every way, shape, and form, but yet still reach out to try to get me to be supportive of them. And that's extremely frustrating. So I'm dealing with a lot of that in just like many different ways. And then, the old dealing with the stepdad and the politics and about that. And that's fresh. And so, it's hard to love somebody when they are actively shitting on things that are very, very close to you.
Yeah.
So
I can actually relate to dealing with somebody in your family who you're close to and habitually dealing with them in the same way. Jory.
Yeah.
We've been communicating a lot. My two sisters and I, one of them is in rehab. She's been there. She's almost got a year of sobriety, which is amazing. But the three of us have a hard time talking together, and it's always been an issue. So we're emailing right now, which is nice. We like it because JoJo still gets to send her letters and Britt and I don't have to wait for snail mail. So email has been great. But I find myself having a hard time not reacting the way that
Mhm.
I used to react with her when she says and does things that aren't great. So while she's expressing things and we're trying to get over these walls of communication, I have to take a step back and make sure that I'm reacting neutrally because even though she's still the same person, she's in a very different position right now. Okay, great.
Are you there?
Are we
Yeah.
back?
Yeah, we'll
Great.
see what
Okay.
happens.
Let's see.
We might just splice it all together because the internet
That's fine.
is being wackadoodle.
Yeah, there's a an outage in my area until tomorrow, so we're hotspotting our way through this. Anyway, I'll
If
make this
there's
short.
2 parts to this and there's a brief pause in between, that's why. Well, that's what's happening. We're gonna roll with the punches
I'll
here.
edit it as flawlessly as I can. But anyway, I have made a conscious decision to not react in the old way with my sister so that we can communicate better moving forward.
That's great.
Yep.
But enough about us.
Enough about us, you
We
guys. We have a huge guest today.
screaming. She's screaming. I'm sorry for your ears.
We'll edit that
Yeah,
out.
we have microphones,
We'll
so we don't
edit
have
that
to be so
out,
loud.
you guys.
We have a really incredible guest with us all the way from Duluth, Minnesota. Well, not with us in the studio, but everybody, please, turn your ears up louder. I was going to say clap, but we can't do that for Danny Frank, everybody.
Danny Break.
Go ahead
Hi.
and say hi to the people.
Hello. Nice to join you.
Perfect. So
How are you today?
I am doing pretty well. It is gloomy AF, as they say up here in Duluth, but I'm getting by.
Nice.
great. That's always
Cloudy and
helpful.
windy and fall.
Cloudy and windy and fall. You know, Danny, I was just up in your area. My girlfriends and I took a road trip. It was our 25-year friend anniversary. And we went up to Duluth and we toured the Glensheen mansion. And as soon as we got there, there were pictures everywhere and they were talking about how they do local shows and they have local artists come. And I asked the woman at the desk if you'd played there before and she said that she thinks so because your name sounded really familiar, but she couldn't confirm it. Have you played at the Glensheen Mansion
We
before?
did indeed.
It's an awesome
Yeah, we
place.
played 2 summers ago. It's beautiful out on the pier, and yeah,
Yes.
it's a pretty iconic spot.
It's amazing. I really liked just the whole community of Duluth. It's really cool. It's like stretched out but squished together all at the same time because you got to kind of go up and down to get around. How long have you lived there?
It's been about 18 years. I moved here in 2007, so it
Nice.
feels like home. I've now lived here as long as I lived in my hometown growing up, so that's kind of a weird thing, but I dig it.
That's awesome.
Awesome. So let's get to, the
Yeah.
whole point of this podcast, which is tell us. So for those who might not be aware of Danny Frank, he is a fellow sober pal, just like us.
Mhm.
Recently gone alcohol free in the last couple of years. Why don't you tell us just a little bit more about that, like how far along you are and why you ultimately made the decision to remove alcohol from your life?
Sure. Yeah, so it was 3 years in August, which, it feels like a long time. It doesn't feel like much time at all. For me, alcohol was rarely like a binge kind of a thing. I certainly had my share of hangovers over the years. But it was more of like I got to deal with the anxiety. I'm going to crack a beer. I've got to get hyped up to go out and play a show. I'm going to crack a beer. I've got to, get some projects down around the house. And it was always just sort of the thing that I used to shift my mental whatever sensibilities at a given time. And I've dealt with depression my whole life. I think I was first diagnosed when I was like 6. That was exciting for my parents. And it was just always like this roller coaster of emotions. And alcohol, along with earlier, in my teenage and early 20s years, there were many other substances involved, but alcohol was the one with the staying power. So I'm 48 now, so through my like raising 2 children, one's now in college, the other one is just got his driver's license, and the ups and downs of marriage and buying houses and selling houses and moving and all that stuff. Alcohol was just kind of the constant backdrop. And so when my mom died in 2019, and then the pandemic hit, it was a pretty fucked up year. And I can swear on here, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. This is
So
a safe space.
um,
Just
it
don't burp.
was, this is a, yeah, I did hear you burp last week, and it was like, and I saw your face
Dang
turn
it.
red. So,
So
um,
embarrassing.
but yes. So it was, I sort of leaned into alcohol as just a crutch, as I had for many years. But it was the thing that numbed out the grief. It was the thing that, kept me occupied when I was bored as hell, sitting at home during the pandemic, on a slow day at work, and, just all that kind of stuff. And I had dabbled in taking breaks, a month here or there, and it always felt kind of good. But then it was like, well, I'll just have one, and it'll be good, and we'll see. And then the next thing I knew, it was a daily thing again. Two or three, maybe four, at a show or on the weekends, maybe a few more than that. But there was one particular day, summer of that would have been, I guess, 22, because it's a little over 3 years ago. I went fishing with my neighbor Dan. He's an older gentleman, one of my best friends, and we were out on Lake Superior. And as we would always do, we'd each bring a 6-pack. We'd launch at 6 a.m. and fish till we caught our limit and come back to the dock. And I got back to the dock and realized that I had consumed a 6-pack of Two Hearted Ale, which is a very strong IPA. Still, probably my favorite beer around. And I kind of had a buzz, but I wasn't like drunk. And I was, I had a couple meetings at work that afternoon, and I was like, well, yeah, I'll just hop on and wrap up my day. And that night I was just sitting there, and I was like, I think I'm kind of a functional alcoholic. And so I thought, I'm going to just give it a try. And, to be completely candid, like, had seen a lot of the stuff that Carrin had been posting over the couple years prior to that. And another good friend of mine from high school who lives out in Oregon, she had been sober about a year prior to that. And was just like, I'm going to give this a shot and just see how it goes. But I didn't say to myself, I'm going to do a month. I didn't say I'm going to do, some fixed period of time. I'm just going to test it out. And, a week turned into a month, turned into 3 months. And now here I am at 3 years. So that was kind of the thing that, I guess it was a good day of fishing with Dan, and here I am.
So you had mentioned that you used alcohol as a way of kind of helping with boredness and not being bored all of the time. What kind of things do you do now for people? I know that in the beginning of sobriety, that's one of the hardest things for people is to combat that boredness that they feel. So, what kind of things do you do now to kind of get yourself through those moments of boredom, or that you did in the beginning when you first quit drinking?
Yeah, at that time I was playing more and more music. I should say, like, in addition to the alcohol, music was my other coping strategy after losing my mom. And so I really, by that time the band had been playing together for a year, and I had an album out and was, getting to know folks in the music community and playing more. And so I really leaned into that, started writing a bunch more. And the other thing I started doing was going to take a sauna. We have a membership at the Y here in town, and I still 3-4 days a week. That's my thing that I do. So if I'm feeling stressed, if I'm feeling anxious, if I'm feeling bummed out, like, I just go and I roast until I sweat it out. And I like to be more active outdoors. I used to be like a professional outdoor educator for 25 years until I got a desk job. And so I'm trying to get back in a habit of, like, getting outdoors and doing that stuff more. But I just try to do other things, creative outlets, and things that make my body feel good. So that's kind of it.
I love that. I also just acquired a sauna myself. My sister lives in Minneapolis, and she purchased this sauna. I have to say it like that now. You
I
can't just
hate
say
it.
sauna. You have to say sauna. So it's like
Sauna.
a right.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So it's like a tent where it's just big enough for one person. And she started by having it in her backyard, and then it moved into her garage, and then it moved down into her basement. And now she's upgraded to like an actual wooden one that they put together in her backyard. and sent the other one down here to me in Madison. I'm so excited to get it set up in the basement and use it all winter. You can come over anytime.
Great. I won't, but great.
It's really nice. It's that whole like
That's
sweating it
fabulous.
out and having that minute to yourself or that hour to yourself. I don't know how long is safe. I suppose I should look that up before I get in there
Like
and stay in there. Is it like 20 minutes?
I mean, it's the ideal is like 20. Maybe people do it for longer than that, but I think
Right?
it's like, I don't know.
I'm
So
excited.
another thing that you had mentioned that I picked up on was how you drank all of those IPAs.
Mm.
So do you do any sort of like non-alcoholic beers now? Do you do anything to replace what you used to drink? Because I know some people do, some people don't. And what is it that you drink?
Well, I this is what I'm currently drinking, the Athletic Hazy IPA, which I enjoy. I drink a lot of bubbly water, and I heard you mention, Carrin, I think on the episode last week that you went through a bubbly water phase, and I have like some different flavor bitters I'll throw in there. If I'm at a fancy cocktail bar, I'll get a mocktail. But a lot of times it's just like some bubbly water and a lime and I'm good.
Right.
But I do enjoy, particularly like if I'm playing shows or we're camping or we're at festivals, like I want to reach in the cooler and have something interesting and feel like I'm part of the shit that's going on. So the Athletic is my go-to. I like, there's Peroni makes a good one. There's one brewery in Duluth out of the 90,000 that are in this area, one that makes an NA beer. And so it was actually my favorite brewery before I quit drinking, Ursa Minor. But it's now especially my favorite one because they actually make an NA beer. And so that one's really good. But yeah, that's kind of my thing, I guess.
Nice. Speaking
That's
of
great.
mocktails,
Yeah, can we share?
yeah, we're enjoying. We went to a
Yeah, what are you drinking?
we went to a meetup on Sunday where at a store that sells a whole bunch of NA like liquors and beers and all that kind of stuff. And we picked up a whole bunch of stuff that we'll be sharing on every episode going forward. But the one that we're enjoying today is this one here.
It's Curious Elixirs. Probably a lot of you out there listening see this on your Instagram feeds. They're these pre-made mocktails that you pour over ice and you garnish with fancy garnishings. But this is the Curious number 9. It is the Rosy Rose and Fizzy Lifting Lime.
Fizzy lifting drink from
Yeah,
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
right.
Don't
So
burp. Otherwise you might end up on this
Exactly.
list.
So I muddled some maraschino cherries, and I need to just add, it took me a while to find cherries that did not have red dye 40 or high fructose corn syrup. I paid $9 for this jar of cherries, and they're delicious.
It's Maha over here.
Well, you can't have red dye 40 anymore. It'll
Yet we
make
eat
my
fast
kid go
food.
crazy.
Yet we eat fast food.
Culver's is the only fast food we eat
You
anymore.
get on the train or you don't even bother. Get it on all the way. You go all the way to the train stop, or you just don't bother getting on the train.
It's so tasty. It's like
It is really good. It's kind of like an old fashioned.
yeah, it's not
Like
too
an
fruity.
aperitif.
And it is fizzy. I would probably still put a splash of like 7-Up or Squirt, sugar free.
I want a
just
nice
little.
orange on the rim, just because I'm bougie.
There's a blood orange dehydrated slice in
Right,
there
it just doesn't do the
because
same thing.
that non-alcoholic liquor store also sells those like dehydrated fruit garnishes. I love it.
Back to Danny. So, going back to you playing shows, how do you navigate now? You had mentioned like always wanting to have something to reach into the cooler and to grab out. So, how do you navigate being a musician? Because we're around musicians and music and all of that all of the time. So we know exactly what goes on. It is not a, innocent party most of the time, especially when you're out playing shows and stuff. So how do you navigate that world now that you are alcohol free?
Yeah, my first sober festival was real weird. And it was we were playing it, but it was also, it's up here in kind of in the South Range, east of Superior area in Wisconsin, called Squash Fest at Adam Stopey's land. He's a bass player from Feeding Leroy, but It was tough. I was like super anxious, and at one point I had stashed some NA beers in the cooler, and I reached in and grabbed one and cracked it open and took a swig, and I had grabbed the wrong can and had like a big gulp of some, I don't know, red or a stout or something that was in there, and it was like immediately had this moment of panic, and it just kind of went right up to my head, and I was like, wow, that's the feeling that I used to really embrace, that first sip and that like, oh, calm. And then I was like, okay, so I set that aside, and then what really helped me as like a festival goer was I knew a few other folks that and that actually that weekend I found out they were also sober and had been for a while. And so just having people to touch base with and connect with and say, you know even just looking across and just that knowing glance, that gave me a lot of comfort. And I it's like a bigger thing for me, where not just at festivals but kind of everywhere in my life since I was 15 years old, like there were parts of my identity that really revolved around getting fucked up in one way or another. And so I was like, now was 45 at the time, and like I'm sort of redefining myself as somebody that doesn't, because I haven't smoked weed much since my 20s, and I don't really do any other recreational drugs, with the exception of the occasional, mushroom trip. But it was just like, this is who I am now, right? As somebody who doesn't drink. And so, I guess it was, as a musician, going in the green room, it's like there's this whole spread of bottles and coolers full of beer, and then it's like there's the NA thing that's got plastic bottles of water. And so that's kind of annoying, to be honest. I really appreciate when venues will supply other things, but I've just started bringing some bubblies or some NA beers or whatever. um I My band is interesting because Joe Scarpolino, who's our bass player, Smoking Joe from St. Paul, he's been sober, I think, 8 years now. So
Mhm.
he was super supportive, and it was helpful to like be in that and have him there. Harrison Olk, our banjo player, he might have two pale ales or something in a show. And then Erin Aldridge, our fiddle player, she rarely ever drinks. And so it's not like we're all showing up and everybody's raging and I'm just sitting there twiddling my thumbs. So that helps a lot as well. But it does get, I don't go and hang out at the late night jams like I used to. And part of it is I'm tired. 2 a.m, like I want to be in bed. But it's also just like I love the people, my friends, during the daytime, and some of them get kind of annoying when they're all sauced up and I'm not. And so I find myself kind of shying away from some of that stuff more than I used to. So
Sure. Let's take it back. Let's scroll it back to when you were that teenager. Karin and I have talked a lot about how, right. We've talked a lot about how being a product of our families, our social circles, shaped us into the levels of alcoholics that we were. I'm curious about what that felt like for you, being that young, impressionable teenage boy. Why was it such a huge part of your life so early on?
yeah, it's a really good question. I grew up in a house where, like, if I saw my dad drink 10 beers a year, I would be shocked, right? I mean,
Hmm.
my mom would have a glass of wine once in a real rare while. So they weren't drinkers. I found out later, when I found a pile of stems and seeds on the counter that were not mine, that they smoked weed. But that was a
Busted.
whole other thing. It's like, and they're getting on me about the shit they found in my room. But um, it was like I was in marching band, hanging out with a bunch of misfits, and like anxious as hell and awkward as hell at 15 years old. And somebody's like, hey, you want to try smoking weed? And it wasn't like peer pressure, but I was curious and interested. And it just opened up like a lot of new feelings and experiences, and it was fun. And it was like, I was a real rebellious kid, so I was like getting away with shit. So there was all that, and it became just like a central part of my social interactions. And I was still a good student. Like high school I found to be really easy and quite boring. And the extracurriculars I was involved in were the stoner ultimate frisbee team where we all played barefoot, and the marching band is like I can play music and be high and still keep in step and all that kind of stuff. So it was never like hard to do that and still function in life. But yeah, it was interesting because it wasn't really something I grew up around in my family. So
Interesting. So it was like a more of like a peer pressure, not so much a product of the house you were living in, but just the general kids around you and the friends that you had and the circles that you found yourself in. Cool.
yeah, and I'd say like more peer environment than peer pressure. It
Sure.
was never like you got to do this. It was just like that's what we did, right? And um,
Right.
sitting by the train tracks, throwing glass bottles at the passing trains is way more cool when you just downed a couple beers and you're like stoned out of your gourd. So it was like just the stupid shit that teenagers do. It made it more fun with
Right.
substances on board. So
Yeah.
So speaking of your band, anything exciting that you guys have coming up? Just tell us a little bit more about the band and, just all of that stuff.
yeah, so I joke sometimes with my wife Angie. We've been married. Well, it was funny. She woke up randomly this summer and was like half asleep, and she said, "I can't believe this summer is going to be our 25th anniversary." And I said, "Honey, I think this is 22." And so we've been together a long time, and so
I
some of
love
those
that.
details are not quite as necessary to keep track of. But she joked at one point that this was kind of my midlife crisis. As I leaned into music and started a band. Some people have an affair. Some people buy a sports car. I started writing music and started gigging a little bit. So I was really fortunate enough. I reached out to Adam Gruel, who I had like a major crush on. He's just I tell him all the time like I was his biggest
Don't we
fanboy for a while
all,
there. And
Mr. Wisconsin himself?
Oh,
I know, right?
Adam. Hi, Adam.
Adam
Exactly.
is certainly not listening
Not
to our
listening,
podcast.
but somebody
I'm
will
sure
tell him
he's an
about it.
avid listener, isn't he? Yeah.
Hook
And
us up with
so
Charlie.
I reached out and I was like, hey, yeah. He was like,
Give a shot.
I said, you don't know me, but I've been following you for a long time. I've got some music. Would you be willing to take a listen and see if there's like anything worth like putting out in the world here? And he was super gracious, and he's like, yeah, I might have some friends that might be willing to help you support you in producing something or whatever. And he took a listen, and he's like, do you have any more stuff? So I sent him just like recordings of everything on my iPhone that I had written. And he was like, I think I'd be down to make this project happen and produce it for you. And I was like totally blown away. So I ended up running a Kickstarter and recording an album with him, and he brought in a bunch of amazing musicians. Kenny Liser's on the album, and
Of
he
course he
had
is.
Andy Hall track on a couple of songs because he knows Andy Hall, and like uh who else was on? Anyways, a bunch of really really great players on there. And Harrison Oak was one of them, banjo player. And and Eli Frieders, of course, was playing bass. And so I coming out of that, it was like, okay, now what do? I made this great album with all these musicians. And I realize this is a longer version maybe than the question that you asked,
It's
which is
perfect.
what are we doing currently. But I started gigging a little bit, and would throw whatever random pickup band together I could for shows. And at a point Harry was like, we really should just try to find some people that want to be part of this band. And so I was like, well, are you down? He's like, yeah, of course. He's kind of been there from the start. And he and I reached out to a couple bass players, and Ian Qualley, who plays with Black River Review, another Duluth cat. He was there for a while until he had young kids and other stuff going on, and Joe Scarpolino hopped on board. And our secret weapon, Erin Aldridge, she's the concertmaster of the Duluth Superior Symphony Orchestra and teaches at the university. And I've known her pretty much since I moved here through the Jewish community. And I reached out and said, hey, have you ever played any bluegrass? Would you be interested in trying it out. And so she played a show with us, and I was like, do you want to be in our band? And she said, hell yeah. So it's been about 4 years we've been playing together, and or three and a half, and it's awesome. It clicked. We've been playing, we probably do 40 shows a year, 30-40 shows, so not a ton. We haven't really toured much, but we write a lot of fun stuff, and we have a great time together. And so this last year or so, we were like, we need to really record an album. We need to put something out there in the world. So we had released a live show that we played at a venue here in Duluth, and we decided to, if we're going to do it, we want to do it right. So we decided to go to Pachyderm, which is up in Cannon Falls, Minnesota, world-class recording studio, and talk to a few folks about potentially producing it. And we ended up landing on Kenny, because he's also, an amazing fiddle player and has that understanding of the classical world, and can help Aaron, conceptualize shit that the rest of us really can't even comprehend. And so we ran a Kickstarter, which I will make a plug, is still open if folks want to. We did meet our goal, but if you want to help us reach our next stretch goal, feel free to go on and do a late pledge. But we recorded an album called Dedication. Right now it's in the mixing stages. There's some cool cameos on there. Mama T sings some harmonies on one of the tunes. We've got Davey from Horseshoes playing harmonica on one of them, and it's just a really tremendously awesome project. And so that's kind of where we're at, getting ready to wrap this album up, and trying to be selective about what we play, because Harry's got a young child at home, and Aaron and I and Harry all have full-time jobs. Joe's in a million different projects, and so we got to be careful about how we commit our time to stuff, but we're just having fun. And we just had a sold-out show up here in Duluth at a venue, the Zeitgeist Zucconi, Teatro Zucconi, and to celebrate Aaron's 50th birthday. And it's just, Duluth is such an amazing community, as you mentioned, Kylei, but especially the music community is just fucking amazing. And it was just cool to have 3 bands that all of which Aaron's a part of. And then we closed down the bar. I was up till 3 a.m. Which is, as Carrin and I have talked, that's very late. That's even later
that
than
sounds
7,
like it hurts.
That's the next day. That's a whole other day
Yeah.
from when you started.
Yeah. And that's where I woke up the next morning and I was like, imagine if this had been 4 years ago. Like, not only would I be sleep deprived, but I'd probably be hungover and dehydrated and feeling like a complete pile of shit. And so, to take it back to the theme of this podcast, it was just nice to like, okay, I'm a little tired, but I can function. And I'm not like snappy at my kids or my wife and that kind of thing.
Right. So I got the pleasure of seeing you guys with Aaron. What was it, last year at the Bluegrass and Brews, River Falls? It was amazing, like absolutely amazing. And so I've always been like, it's just a bummer we don't get to see you more down here in Madison. So do you by chance have any shows scheduled for Madison that upcoming that you can talk about at all?
Come here.
We don't, but we would love to. And part of it is just like having connections at venues and getting booked. And Kenny and I were talking about like getting him and Joe Huber up here for a show, and then us coming down and doing a show there. We'd love to get out to the Driftless. I've been bugging Tim for years to try to get on the bill for something there.
Didn't you have your band at Boogie Down a few years ago?
So funny you mentioned that, because I forgot about that. My first like really live performance of any substance was Adam helped took that up with the Boogie Boys, and Eli was on the album, and so I got a spot to play there. And so it was like but you have to have a full band. So I threw a band together. I ended up with basically Armchair minus Augie, and Kenny and Harry. So yeah, it was fun. That was my first and only time playing at the Driftless. So what a beautiful place that is.
We'll try to work on it for you. We know a guy.
We might know a guy.
I know a guy.
Yeah,
I just actually had a full conversation with Tim this morning about bands coming out and who he thought, and I was annoying him with my opinions. As usual, he loves it.
Nice.
That's nothing. If anybody wants to reach out to Tim Lochner and tell them what bands you think should be out at DMG, he loves it.
He loves it, but he's not going to listen to
He's
you. So
not
good luck.
I'm sure he never hears that from people.
He wants all of the options, but ultimately he's going to go with what his brain tells him
Yeah,
to.
exactly. So we'll see.
Yeah.
It's exciting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So is there a chance that you might be willing to maybe play a song for us? Do you think that would be
I would
possible?
love to play a tune.
Yay!
And in fact, I happen to have my guitar sitting right here.
Oh my
gosh! For such an
gosh,
occasion.
what a coincidence.
My gosh, look
I
at
know,
that.
isn't it?
Aren't we a couple of lucky gals?
We sure are. And so are all you listeners.
Yeah, we couldn't have planned it any better than that. So
so funny how that
this
works
one
out.
this is a tune that's, I know, right? This is a tune that's on the upcoming album. And it was written, the album is called Dedication, because most of the songs are songs that myself or Harry and Joe and Aaron all wrote tunes on there as well. Are written for other people or about people or dedicated to places that we love and that type of thing. So this particular one I wrote for a friend who she's been facing some kind of chronic illness for the last decade or more, and has been faced with like the inevitability of her death at some point. And she's also a weaver, of many things, but mostly like willow baskets and things like that. So she has been weaving a casket with the support of other folks in the community. And so we get together and have some ceremony around building that. And I was part of one of those sessions building that. And anyway, so I wrote this song kind of for her, about her, and I like it. And I'm trying to get better at doing a harmonica as well when I play stuff by myself. So it makes it seem a little more interesting. So this is called Fibers of My Life. Well, I'm weaving together all the fibers of my life, and I keep trying to tell you everything's gonna be all right. When that day comes around, I don't want you asking why, 'cause there ain't no easy answer. Sometimes good things just pass you by. And I'm going where the weather suits my clothes, and I just can't wait to feel that sand between my toes. And I know it's gonna be a hard day for those I left behind. And I'm asking you, honey, won't you help me say goodbye? Well, there's beauty all around us if we open up our eyes. But we're just too busy searching for something we may never find. So we try to make sense of it all as we look to God on high. But the divine light surrounds us. We just gotta let it shine inside. And I'm going where the weather suits my clothes, and I just can't wait to feel that sand between my toes. And I know it's gonna be a hard day for those I left behind. And I'm asking you, baby, won't you help me say goodbye? You may see me in the willow, well, there's more than meets the eye. You see, I'm building my forever home, my castle in the sky. So come gather round and lend a hand. Well, it ain't that hard to do. You see, we're weaving our whole world together. It's the best that we can do. And I'm going where the weather suits my clothes. And I just can't wait to feel that sand between my toes. And I know it's gonna be a hard day for those are left behind. And I'm asking you, honey, won't you help me say goodbye? And I'm asking you, baby, won't you help me say goodbye? And I'm asking you, darling, oh, won't you help me say goodbye?
Oh, that was really amazing.
Thank you so much for playing that
Aw.
for us.
And thank you for being the first person to
Thank you.
play music on the podcast.
Yeah, we really
So that's a
appreciate it.
first for us.
That was a
was
treat.
Oh.
really, really, really nice.
Yeah.
So tell the listeners
Cool.
where they will be able to find the album once it is all done and coming out, and what you plan to do with making sure that gets in everybody's hands.
Yeah, great question. It'll be on all the streams. We do have a website. It is smokygold.com, which I landed just about a month ago because it finally became available, which was freaking awesome. And we're on social media. If you look up Danny Frank and the Smoky Gold, you'll find all of us. Find us on, well, I shouldn't say all of it. I'm 48, so Instagram and Facebook is about all I can handle. There's talk of hiring some millennial to like manage a TikTok page or something, but
No.
so yeah, and we're people ask when's it going to be ready, and I say when it's finished. But
Right.
we're hoping it'll be like March or April, and we'll try to make a big stink about it and come to a town near you
as you
and
should.
sell you some vinyl.
Stink it up.
All right, listeners. So make sure that
Yeah.
you are following Danny, and so that you can stay updated on all of the things, and make sure that you see when that album comes out, and make sure you get it.
Yeah,
Get
go
to
get it.
shows if you can, to get out those album release shows when they happen, and make sure that you're paying attention and following along.
Yes.
Better than you do for us.
Yeah, right.
Do better.
Do better. Can I ask one more question?
Of course you can.
So I have one more question that I thought about. Actually, I have two more questions
Please.
while you were singing the song, because it was beautiful. So the first question is your songwriting different being alcohol free? Is your process different, or does it feel like a cozy sweater that you can put on no matter what? Is it harder, easier, same?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I wouldn't say it's harder or easier. I would say that there's it's a simpler process because it's easier to remember like what I came up with, and actually that's an interesting thing. Like I since I have been sober, I forget lyrics a lot less frequently when I'm in the middle of a show. But yeah, I mean, it's it still kind of serves the same purpose. I'll get an inspiration on a chord change or a little lick, and then I'll start building on that, and then melody comes, and then some lyrics, or I'll get inspired by something, and then start writing. I will say one of my favorite songs I've written, that's an a cappella number we do, and that's on our live album if you go on the streams, called Savannah, and that was like me alone in a cabin in the woods north of Two Harbors with a 6-pack, and I came up with a really random tune about a place I've never been, Savannah, Georgia. So there's some of that like goofy inspiration that doesn't come as easily without the substances, but I think some of my best songs that I've written have been in the last few years. And yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks. My other question is there, so you've got like a vibe, right? You've got this really lovely kind of folk storytelling vibe. Is there a genre or a style of music that you've wanted to write that you haven't yet? Like is there something that's like itching in the back of your head, but you're like, that doesn't fit with what I'm doing, but I kind of want to do it?
Yeah, that's actually a really like interesting that you would ask that question, because I've been trying for a few years now to write a good blues tune. And when I was younger, I would listen to a lot of blues, and I can play blues, but for some reason when I write the lyrics, it just comes out kind of like hokey. And so it's that would be the one, would be a blues tune.
Cool.
And I think I sing about, like, I can I've got a pretty good range, and like really like to some of that old soul stuff. Like I grew up listening to Bob Seger and Joe Cocker, and like all the like recently why
Taylor
am I
Swift.
blanking on his name, Chris Stapleton, like those big voices.
Yeah.
And I love to sing like that, but I like haven't quite figured out how to write those kind of songs yet. So.
Cool.
Well, thank you
Yay.
so much
This was
for
lovely.
taking time to join us. I would say in the studio, but we're not in a studio, but on the screens and on the
I'm there in
podcast.
spirit.
Yes, you
Yeah,
are.
of
It's
course.
almost like you're in the room with us.
I can feel your presence.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you so much for sharing your story and sharing your music and all of the lovely things about the lovely person you are. We couldn't be more grateful that you were willing to come on here and hang out with us today.
Yes, thanks for being our first guest of season 2. Yay.
Yeah, and thanks for having me. And Carrin, thank you for all of your kind of inspiration, and letting this random dude that you didn't actually really know pick your brain about sobriety and stuff. It's been kind of cool to just to have you as a support. So
Yeah, it's my pleasure. It's been really good getting to know you through that, and I'm really grateful that I was able to help you, and even if it was in the smallest ways, to get to where you are now. So I love the connection and the friendship that
yeah.
we've been able to forge because of it. So I appreciate you a lot.
Aw, that's really nice,
Yeah,
you
awesome.
guys. And anybody else out there who's listening, and like we've said before, this podcast isn't just for alcohol-free individuals. If you're sober curious, or if you have a friend that is newly sober, listen to our podcast. Tell your friends about our podcast. There's so many perspectives to share, and find that common ground and grow your community. You're not alone. Wherever you land on the spectrum, you're not alone. Just wanted to say
And
that.
my inbox is always open.
Yeah, we're here for you.
Want to chat.
Thanks for being here for us.
And you all have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thanks you so much. Thanks you. I can't speak anymore.
Thanks you.
I'm just so thanks you. Thank you
Thanks
so
you
much for
too.
being here. All right. We will chat at all of you in just a couple of weeks here. So thank you so much for tuning in. Have a
Thanks,
great day.
Danny.
Yeah, thank you.
Opes and Dreams podcast is recorded, edited, and produced by Carrin Wall and Kylei Parsons. Music provided by the People Brothers Band. Donate to Opes and Dreams at www.buymeacoffee.com/Opes and Dreams podcast.